When you try to get health, you are sick. When you try to get wealth, you are poor. When you try to get love, you are lonely. The very trying keeps you in the state opposite to what you desire. It is like a man drowning who struggles so violently that he prevents his own rescue. The harder he fights against the water, the more surely he sinks. But when he relaxes, when he stops fighting, when he allows himself to float, he discovers that the water that seemed his enemy becomes his support. I want you to understand something fundamental about the nature of reality. Everything that you could ever want already exists. Not in some far-off heaven, not in some distant future, but right here, right now, in this very moment. The infinite intelligence that creates and sustains this universe has already provided everything. Every desire that ever been born in the human heart has its corresponding fulfillment in the invisible realm of infinite possibility. But here is a mystery that has confounded humanity for centuries. These things exist in a dimension that can only be entered through feeling, through assumption, through the bold act of occupying the state of having rather than wanting. You cannot think your way into this dimension. You cannot work your way into it. You cannot struggle your way into it. You can only feel your way into it. Tonight I want to take you on a journey into the very heart of creation itself. I want to show you how the universe actually works, not as the material scientists would have you believe, with their theories of random chance and mechanical causation, but as it truly is, a universe of infinite imagination where consciousness is the only reality and everything else is merely its projection. Consider for a moment the nature of your own experience. Right now, as you sit here listening to these words, everything you are aware of exists within your consciousness. The sounds you hear, the sights you see, the thoughts you think, the feelings you feel, all of it is taking place within the theater of your own awareness. You never actually experience anything outside of your consciousness. You only experience your consciousness of things. This is not mere philosophy, my friends. This is the practical foundation upon which all manifestation rests. If consciousness is all that you ever experience, then consciousness must be the substance from which all experience is made. And if consciousness is the substance of experience, then by changing consciousness, you change experience. By changing the state of your consciousness, you change the world. Now, when I say stop trying to get it, I mean stop living in the consciousness of not having it. Stop affirming through your feelings that it is absent from your life. Stop approaching your desires from the outside as if they were foreign to you, as if they belonged to someone else, as if they required permission from some external authority. Your desires are not foreign to you. They are not accidents or coincidences. They are the voice of your own deeper self calling you home to your true nature. Every desire is a prophecy of its own fulfillment. Every longing is a promise from the infinite that what you seek is seeking you. But the promise can only be fulfilled when you stop trying to grab it from the outside and instead learn to occupy it from within. Let me illustrate this with a story that will make clear the principle I am sharing with you. There was once a man who desperately wanted to be wealthy. Day and night he thought about money. He visualized having money. He affirmed that money was coming to him. He tried every technique he had ever heard of to attract wealth into his life. But the harder he tried, the more elusive wealth became. His very effort was pushing it away from him. One day, exhausted by his efforts and discouraged by his continued poverty, he decided to give up. He said to himself, I am tired of wanting. I am tired of trying. I am tired of being poor in my own mind. And in that moment of surrender, in that moment of ceasing to try, something extraordinary happened. He felt different. Not hopeful that wealth was coming, he felt wealthy. Not believing that he would have money, he felt like he had money. And from that moment of inner transformation, his outer world began to rearrange itself. Opportunities appeared that he had never noticed before. People offered him possibilities that had always been there, but which he had been too busy trying to see. Money began to flow to him through channels he had never imagined. And he realized that wealth had always been his, waiting for him to stop trying to set it and simply be it. This is the great secret, my friends. You don't get things. You become them. You don't attract conditions. You embody them. You don't manifest from emptiness. You manifest from fullness. And the fullness is already yours. It has always been yours. It is your birthright, your natural inheritance as a child of the infinite. But how do you stop trying? How do you cease the effort that seems so natural, so necessary, so obviously required? The answer lies in understanding what trying really is and what it does to your consciousness. Trying is always future tense. When you try to get something, you are affirming that you will have it someday, but not now. You are pushing your good into an imaginary tomorrow that never comes. Because when tomorrow arrives, it is always today. And if you are still trying, you are still pushing your good into the next tomorrow. Trying is also effortful. It involves strain, struggle, force. It comes from the belief that you must overcome resistance, that you must fight against opposing forces, that you must earn your good through hard work and dedication. But I tell you tonight that the universe requires no such payment. Your good comes not through effort, but through acceptance, not through struggle, but through surrender, not through trying, but through being. The moment you stop trying to get it, you create space for it to be. The moment you cease your efforts to attract it, you discover that it was never absent. The moment you quit pushing for it to happen, you realize that it has already happened in the one place where all happening truly occurs, in consciousness itself. Now I want to address those of you who are thinking, but Neville, if I don't try, if I don't work toward my goals, if I don't make an effort, how will anything ever change? How will I ever get what I want? This question reveals a fundamental misunderstanding about the nature of action and the source of all effective action. There are two kinds of action in this world. There is action that comes from trying, and there is action that comes from being. Action that comes from trying is forced, effortful, strained. It originates in the belief that you lack something and must go out and get it. This kind of action often produces the opposite of what you want because it is rooted in the consciousness of not having. But action that comes from being is natural, effortless, inspired. It flows from the consciousness of already having, of already being what you want to be. When you embody the state of your fulfilled desire, when you live in the feeling of having what you want, right action happens automatically. You don't have to figure out what to do. You don't have to force doors to open. You simply move as your fulfilled self would move, and the world rearranges itself to match your inner state. This is why I say stop trying to get it. Not because I want you to become passive or inactive, but because I want your action to flow from the right source. I want your doing to emerge from your being rather than from your lacking. I want your efforts to be the natural expression of your fulfillment rather than the desperate attempts of your emptiness. Let me share with you the technique that makes this possible, the method that allows you to transition from trying to being, from wanting to having, from seeking to finding. It is elegantly simple, which is why so many people overlook it in favor of more complicated approaches. Before you sleep each night, instead of trying to get what you want, assume that you already have it. Don't visualize yourself getting it. Don't imagine it coming to you in the future. Don't see yourself working toward it or struggling for it. Simply assume the feeling of having it now, in this moment, as a present reality. If you want health, don't try to get healthy. Feel healthy. If you want love, don't try to find love. Feel loved. If you want success, don't try to become successful. Feel successful. The feeling is the secret. And the feeling must be present tense. It must be now. It must be real in your experience, regardless of what your senses may be reporting. This is not pretending. This is not wishful thinking. This is not self-deception. This is the conscious use of the creative power that is your birthright as a human being. You are not pretending to have what you want. You are actually having it in the only place where having truly occurs, in consciousness. And consciousness, being the only reality, makes it real. The physical world that you see with your eyes is nothing more than consciousness made visible. It is the outpicturing of inner states, the externalization of internal conditions, the manifestation of mental emotional patterns. When you change the pattern within, the picture without must change to correspond. This is not a belief. This is not a hope. This is a law as reliable as the law of gravity. But here is where most people stumble. They try this approach for a few days or a few weeks, and when they don't see immediate external changes, they conclude that it doesn't work. They go back to trying, back to efforting, back to the old consciousness of lack and limitation. They don't understand that there is often a time interval between the inner change and its outer expression, just as there is a time interval between planting a seed and harvesting the crop. You must persist in the new state. You must continue to live in the feeling of having what you want, regardless of current circumstances, regardless of what others may say, regardless of how long it seems to be taking. Your persistence in the assumption creates the externalization. Your faithfulness to the inner reality births the outer manifestation. I have seen people transform their entire lives using this principle. I have watched the sick become well, the poor become prosperous, the lonely find love, the despairing discover joy. But in every case, the transformation began the moment they stopped trying to get what they wanted and started being what they wanted to be. There was a woman who came to me years ago, desperate to marry a particular man who seemed completely uninterested in her. She had tried everything she could think of to get his attention, to win his affection, to make him see her as a potential partner. The harder she tried, the further he seemed to move away from her. She was exhausted by her efforts and heartbroken by the lack of success. I told her what I'm telling you tonight: stop trying to get him, and you'll have him. Instead of trying to make him love you, assume that he already does. Instead of working to win his heart, live in the feeling that his heart is already yours. Instead of hoping for a future with him, dwell in the reality of being his beloved right now. At first she protested. She said, "But Neville, that's not true. He doesn't love me. We're not together. How can I feel like his beloved when the facts clearly show otherwise?" And I replied, "My dear, the facts are nothing more than the outpicturing of yesterday's assumptions. If you want different facts, you must make different assumptions. The assumption persistently maintained becomes the fact." She agreed to try this approach, though I could see she had doubts. But something wonderful happened. The moment she stopped trying to get his love and started living in the assumption of being loved by him, she began to change. She became more confident, more radiant, more attractive. She stopped the desperate behaviors that had been pushing him away. She started moving through the world as a woman who was deeply loved, and that inner state began to be reflected in her outer experience. Within 3 months, he had noticed a change in her and was drawn to her new energy. Within 6 months, he was pursuing her with the same intensity she had once pursued him. Within a year, they were married. But the marriage was not the result of her trying to get him. It was the natural expression of her assumption that she was already his beloved. This principle applies to every area of life because it is the fundamental principle of creation itself. You are always living in some assumption about yourself and your world. You are always occupying some state of consciousness. The question is not whether you will assume and embody a state. You are already doing that every moment of every day. The question is which state you will choose to occupy. Most people occupy states by default. They react to circumstances rather than creating them. They let their external environment determine their internal state rather than letting their internal state determine their external environment. They try to feel good when things go well instead of making things go well by feeling good first. But you can choose your state. You can select the consciousness you wish to occupy. You can decide which version of yourself you want to be. And when you make that choice and persist in it, the world has no option but to reflect it back to you. I want you to understand that this is not about positive thinking or optimistic attitudes. This is about occupying the consciousness of your desire fulfilled. There is a vast difference between thinking positively about what you want and actually feeling yourself to be in possession of it. Positive thinking often maintains the separation between you and your desire by keeping it in the category of something you hope for. But the assumption I'm teaching you tonight collapses that separation entirely. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you are not hoping for it. wishing for it, or even believing it will come. You are experiencing it as a present reality in consciousness, and consciousness is the only reality there is. Everything else is merely its shadow, its reflection, its outer expression. This is why the Bible tells us to pray believing that we have already received what we ask for. Not that we will receive it, but that we have received it. The receiving happens first in consciousness, and then it appears in what we call the physical world. But consciousness is the real world. Everything else is just its projection. Now let me address those of you who are concerned about letting go of effort entirely. You may be thinking, if I stop trying, won't I become lazy? Won't I stop taking action? Won't I just sit around waiting for things to happen? These concerns reveal a misunderstanding about what it means to stop trying. When I tell you to stop trying to get what you want, I am not telling you to become passive or inactive. I am telling you to stop acting from the consciousness of lack and start acting from the consciousness of fulfillment. I am telling you to stop efforting from emptiness and start expressing from fullness. When you truly embody the state of having what you want, action becomes natural and inspired. You don't have to force yourself to do things. You don't have to push yourself to move forward. You simply find yourself naturally doing the things that someone in your desired state would do. The action flows from being rather than from trying. A person who truly feels wealthy doesn't have to try to make money. They naturally think and act in ways that create wealth. A person who truly feels healthy doesn't have to try to get well. They naturally make choices that support their health. A person who truly feels love doesn't have to try to find love. They naturally attract love by being lovable. This is the great paradox. When you stop trying to get it, you naturally do the things that bring it to you. When you cease the effort to attract it, you become attractive to it. When you quit pushing for it to happen, you align yourself with its natural flow into your experience. But remember, this alignment happens first within consciousness. The outer actions are secondary. They are the effect, not the cause. The cause is always the state of consciousness you choose to occupy, the assumption you choose to maintain, the feeling you choose to live in. Let me tell you about a man who understood this principle profoundly. He wanted to be a successful author, but he had been trying for years to get published with no success. He would write furiously, submit manuscripts everywhere, network tirelessly, and study the market obsessively. But the harder he tried, the more rejections he received. He was becoming bitter and discouraged. Then he heard about this principle of stopping the effort to get what you want. At first it seemed counterintuitive to him. How could he become a successful author without trying to become one? But he was desperate enough to experiment with a different approach. Instead of trying to become a successful author, he began to assume that he already was one. Instead of hoping for publication, he lived in the feeling of being published. Instead of working to achieve success, he embodied the consciousness of success already achieved. Something remarkable happened. As he lived in this assumption day after day, his writing began to change. It became more confident, more authentic, more powerful. He stopped writing what he thought publishers wanted and started writing what flowed naturally from his consciousness of being a successful author. He stopped submitting desperately to every possible outlet and started choosing opportunities that aligned with his inner state of success. Within 6 months, he had received his first acceptance. Within 2 years, he had published his first bestseller. But more importantly, he had become what he wanted to be in consciousness first, and the external success was simply the natural expression of that inner reality. This is how creation works, my friends. First the inner, then the outer. First the consciousness, then the condition. First the assumption, then the fact. You don't work your way into the consciousness of success. You assume the consciousness of success and then let it work its way into your experience. Now I want to address the role of desire itself in this process. Many of you have been taught that desire is somehow wrong or sinful, that wanting things is unspiritual, that you should be content with whatever you have. This teaching has created tremendous confusion and has kept countless people trapped in lives of limitation and lack. Your desires are not your enemies. They are your friends. They are the voice of your deeper self calling you to expand, to grow, to become more than you currently are. Every desire is a gift from the infinite, a promise of what is possible for you, a preview of your own potential coming into manifestation. But here is the key. Desire is meant to inform you about what you want, not to keep you in a state of wanting. Desire is meant to show you the direction of your expansion, not to become a permanent residence of longing and lack. Desire is meant to inspire your assumption, not to become a chronic condition of frustration. When you truly understand this principle, you begin to see desire differently. Instead of being tortured by your wants, you become grateful for them because they show you what you are meant to become. Instead of being frustrated by your longings, you use them as launching pads for new assumptions about yourself. The moment you desire something, you have been given the capacity to have it. The very fact that you can conceive of it means it exists in the realm of possibility for you. Your job is not to figure out how to get it, or when it will come, or whether you deserve it. Your job is simply to assume the feeling of having it and to persist in that assumption until it hardens into fact. This brings us to one of the most important aspects of this teaching, the question of time. Many people apply this principle for a short while and then abandon when they don't see immediate results. They don't understand that there is often what appears to be a time lag between the inner assumption and its outer manifestation. But I tell you that there is no real time lag. The manifestation happens instantly in consciousness, which is the only place where anything ever really happens. What we call the time lag is simply the period required for consciousness to reorganize the seemingly external world to match the inner pattern. Think of it this way. When you plant a seed in the ground, you don't dig it up every day to see if it's growing. You trust that the natural processes are at work, even though you can't see them. You water it, you give it sunlight, and you wait patiently for the visible growth to appear. The same principle applies to the seeds of assumption you plant in consciousness. Your assumptions are seeds planted in the fertile soil of infinite creativity. Your persistence in maintaining the assumption is the watering and feeding of that seed. Your faith in the process, regardless of current appearances, is the sunlight that allows it to grow. And just as surely as a planted seed will eventually break through the soil and become a visible plant, your assumption will eventually break through the current circumstances and become a visible fact. But you must persist. You must continue to water the seed with your assumption. You must continue to feed it with your feeling. You must continue to give it the sunlight of your faith. If you stop, if you dig up the seed by returning to the old consciousness of lack, you abort the process and must begin again. This is why I emphasize the importance of the state you assume before sleep. Sleep is the most creative time, when your conscious mind with all its doubts and arguments is quiet, when your subconscious mind is most receptive to impression, when the assumptions you maintain have the deepest impact on your consciousness. Make it your practice every single night without exception to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled as you drift off to sleep. Don't analyze it, don't question it, don't wonder how it will come to pass. Simply feel yourself to be what you want to be, to have what you want to have, to live the life you want to live. Fall asleep in that assumption and let the creative forces of your own infinite nature work throughout the night to make it so. Many people try this for a few nights and then forget about it or get distracted by other techniques or methods. But I tell you that consistency is the key. Make this assumption every single night. Let it become as natural and automatic as breathing. Let it become your new way of being rather than something you do occasionally when you remember. As you persist in this practice, you will begin to notice changes in your waking consciousness. You will find yourself naturally thinking, feeling, and acting from the consciousness of your fulfilled desire. You will discover that you no longer need to try to be positive or optimistic, because positivity and optimism flow naturally from the consciousness of having what you want. You will also notice that your relationship with your current circumstances begins to change. Instead of being discouraged by what you don't yet see, you will be patient and confident because you know that the inner work has already been done. Instead of being anxious about the future, you will be peaceful in the present because you are already living in the consciousness of your fulfilled desire. This inner transformation is actually more important than the outer manifestation, though the outer manifestation will surely follow. You see, the real goal is not just to get what you want, but to become what you want to be. The real prize is not just the external condition, but the internal consciousness that creates and sustains all external conditions. When you learn to assume any state at will, when you discover that you can occupy any consciousness you choose, when you realize that you can become anything you desire to be simply in the feeling or signing of being it, you have found the master key to life itself. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You are the creator of circumstances. You are no longer the effect of conditions. You are the cause of conditions. This is your true nature, my friends. You are not a victim of the world. You are the creator of your world. You are not subject to forces outside yourself. You are the force that determines your own experience. You are not a beggar hoping for scraps from the table of life. You are the host of the feast, able to create whatever menu you desire. But to claim this power, you must stop trying to get it and simply be it. You must stop approaching it from the outside and start expressing it from within. You must stop seeking it in the future and start living it in the present. You must stop believing you need to become worthy and start knowing that you already are worthy of it simply by virtue of being able to conceive of it. As we come toward the close of our time together tonight, I want to leave you with a clear understanding of what this means for your daily life. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, you have a choice. You can wake up in the consciousness of wanting what you don't have, or you can wake up in the consciousness of having what you want. You can spend your day trying to get what you desire, or you can spend your day what you desire. If you choose to be what you desire, if you choose to live in the assumption of your wish fulfilled, you will find that your entire day unfolds differently. The people you meet, the opportunities that present themselves, the ideas that come to you, the circumstances that arise, all of these will be different because you are different. You are no longer a person trying to get something. You are a person who has something. And having something creates very different experiences than wanting something. This transformation doesn't require years of study or complicated techniques or expensive courses or special initiations. It requires only your willingness to stop trying to get what you want and start being what you want to be. It requires only your decision to live in the assumption of your desire fulfilled rather than in the consciousness of your desire unfulfilled. The power to do this is yours right now. You don't need to develop it or earn it or deserve it. You already have it. You have always had it. It is your birthright as a conscious being. The only question is whether you will use it consciously and deliberately, or whether you will continue to use it unconsciously and by default. Every moment of every day, you are assuming something about yourself and your world. You are occupying some state of consciousness. You are living in some feeling about your life. Right now, you can choose to make these assumptions consciously rather than unconsciously. You can choose to occupy the state you prefer rather than the state you have inherited. You can choose to live in the feeling of fulfillment rather than the feeling of lack. This choice is always available to you. No matter what has happened in your past, no matter what your current circumstances may be, no matter what others may think or say about you, you always have the power to assume a new state, to occupy a new consciousness, to live in a new feeling about yourself and your possibilities. The person who truly understands this teaching never again feels powerless. They may face challenges, they may encounter obstacles, they may go through difficult periods, but underneath it all they know that they have the power to create their experience through the consciousness they choose to maintain. They know that every situation is temporary and malleable, subject to change through the simple but powerful practice of assumption. This is the message I leave with you tonight. You already are what you want to be. You already have what you want to have. You already live the life you want to live. These things exist in consciousness, waiting for you to recognize them, to accept them, to assume them as true. Stop trying to get what you already have. Stop working to become what you already are. Stop struggling to achieve what is already achieved in the one place where all achievement occurs, in your own infinite consciousness. Take this truth home with you. Sleep in it tonight. Wake up in it tomorrow. Live in it every day. and watch as your world transforms to match the new consciousness you have chosen to embody. This is not just philosophy, my friends. This is not just positive thinking. This is the very mechanics of creation itself, the secret of secrets, the way the universe actually works. You came here tonight seeking an answer, and I have given you the answer. Not just an answer to your particular problem or desire, but the answer to all problems, the solution to all challenges, the key to all doors. Stop trying to get it, and you'll have it. Assume the feeling of having it. Persist in that assumption and watch as it becomes your living reality. The power is yours. The method is simple. The results are guaranteed. All that remains is for you to begin. I want you to imagine for a moment that the entire universe is conspiring in your favor. That every delay, every redirection, every moment of uncertainty is not an obstacle, but a blessing cloaked in disguise. Imagine that there is not a single atom, not a single breath you take, not a single step you walk that isn't being orchestrated for your highest good. Imagine that behind the curtain of appearances, behind what your senses report to you, everything is working out perfectly for you, even if it doesn't look like it. I am here to tell you that this is not mere fantasy. This is law. This is the truth that governs your entire life, whether you recognize it or not. What you assume to be true, what you believe with conviction, becomes the life you live. You see, we are told, according to your faith, be it unto you. And faith is nothing but persistence in the assumption that something unseen is real. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you align with that law. You place yourself in harmony with the pattern of fulfillment. You walk, speak, and think from the end where the desired outcome has already happened. You do not ask how. You do not look for signs. You do not beg the universe. You simply dwell in the feeling of certainty, in the knowing that your reality bends to your assumption. There was once a woman who came to me, broken, defeated by life's apparent injustices. She said to me, "Neville, I have done everything. I have prayed, affirmed, visualized, but my life remains the same. What am I doing wrong?" And I said to her, "You are doing all these things from the standpoint of someone who lacks, who does not have, who hopes it will work out, but fears it may not. You must reverse it. You must act as if it has already worked out. You must feel the relief now. Live from the end." She began to take my words to heart. She stopped asking for change and began assuming the change had already occurred. She walked into rooms with a quiet confidence. She no longer waited for signs to believe. She believed first. And then the signs followed. The job came. The relationship improved. Her health transformed. But more than any of that, her inner world shifted. She lived in peace, in certainty, in power. You see, to act as if everything always works out for you is not arrogance. It is not delusion. It is the recognition of your divine inheritance. You are not some accidental product of chance. You are imagination itself. And imagination creates reality. Your world is your mirror. It reflects what you persistently assume to be true. What do you believe when things don't go your way? Do you spiral into fear? Do you assume failure? Or do you remember that appearances are only shadows cast by your inner light? I tell you, everything can change in an instant if you will. But assume it already has. You must feel the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You must enter the state of the solution, not the problem. I have said before, and I will say it again, man is all imagination. And God is within you as your own wonderful human imagination. When you imagine that everything is working out for you and you feel it deeply, you are speaking the language of God. You are commanding the world to take shape in your favor, and it must obey. It must. Do not be swayed by the evidence of your senses. Your senses show you what has been, not what must be. The moment you accept a new idea and clothe it in feeling, you have planted the seed. Whether or not you see immediate results is irrelevant. The seed is growing, and if you persist in the assumption that everything always works out for you, that seed becomes a tree, and that tree bears fruit. It is easy to believe when everything looks favorable, but the true power is found when you believe in spite of appearances. When the world says no, but your inner world says yes. When the bank account is low, but you walk as one who is already abundant. When the relationship seems lost,
but you live from the state where love is already restored. How does one live like this, you ask? You begin with imagination. You close your eyes and see not with the eyes of flesh, but with the eyes of spirit. You imagine what it would feel like if you knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that everything was working out. You let that feeling saturate your being, and you carry it with you into the waking world. That feeling is the prayer. That feeling is the key, for feeling is the secret. Think of a time when something seemed to go wrong, but later you realized it was the best thing that could have happened. Think of the jobs you didn't get, the people who left you, the delays that frustrated you. All of them, in hindsight, were not mistakes. They were stepping stones. They were divine redirections. What if you could trust that in every moment? What if you could live from that trust now? The truth is, you already are the person who has everything working out. You already exist in that state. All states exist. Creation is finished. Your task is not to make something happen, but to select the state you desire and dwell in it. You move from one state to another by assumption, by conviction, by persistence. Every time you say to yourself, "It's always working out for me," you are reaffirming your place in that state. You are shifting your identity. You are becoming the one who lives in alignment with divine favor. And the world, being a faithful mirror, must show you what you assume. Let me remind you that it is not effort that brings about change. It is not struggle. It is not hours of laborious prayer. It is simply the acceptance of the end. If you can accept the end as real, now then the means will unfold naturally. Life will rearrange itself to reflect your inner world. I once knew a man who lived in constant fear of things going wrong. Every small inconvenience became a sign of doom for him. And surely life obeyed. His car broke down, his health suffered, his relationships crumbled. I told him, "My dear friend, you are not unlucky. You are simply faithful to the wrong assumption. Change it." He began to test this truth. He began to say, "Everything is always working out for me," not with hope, but with certainty. And though at first nothing seemed different, he did not waver. And then miracles began to appear. Unexpected checks arrived. Opportunities opened. He smiled more. He slept better. He had become someone new, not by doing more, but by assuming more wisely. You must decide right now that you are done entertaining doubt. You must become faithful to your vision, not your fear. Faithful to your future, not your past. The world you see is the outpicturing of your assumption. You do not change the reflection by scratching the mirror. You change the reflection by changing yourself. I am telling you, act as if everything always works out for you. And by act, I do not mean to pretend. I mean to live from the truth of it. Think from it. Feel from it. Let it be your inner atmosphere. And as within, so without. The law is never broken. The law is always working. It is your servant, waiting for your instruction. What would you do if you knew that success was guaranteed? What risks would you take? What steps would you stop delaying? What words would you say? What love would you give? What dreams would you pursue? Act from that version of yourself. For that version is not a fantasy. It is you, clothed in courage and trust. You are not here to merely react to life. You are here to create it. You are here to mold it with your inner conversation. Listen to what you are telling yourself when no one is watching. Are you affirming the outcome you desire, or the one you fear? Change the conversation. Begin to speak only that which you want to see realized. I am always supported. I am guided. I am favored. Life loves me. Things always work out for me. You will find yourself walking differently, talking differently. People will notice your energy. They won't be able to name it, but they will feel it, because you are living from the end. You are living from the kingdom within. The power is not outside of you. It never was. It is in your ability to assume the best and persist in that assumption. No matter what the outer world says, you stand firm in your inner knowing. That is true power. That is mastery. I urge you to test this. Not tomorrow, but now. Begin this moment to act as if everything is working out for you. When something unexpected happens, smile. Say to yourself, "I may not see the whole picture yet, but I know this is part of it working out." And soon you will see the pattern. You will see the wisdom in every turn. You will live with peace, because you will know the truth. Your job is not to control the how. Your job is to maintain the inner state. If you can do that, the rest will take care of itself. Life responds to the dominant assumption. And when your dominant assumption is that everything always works out for you, then life has no choice but to conform. You are the author. You are the dreamer. You are not a victim of fate. You are a creator of form. And what you imagine in faith, you will encounter in fact. So go forth from this moment on, with the knowing that you are already on the path. Everything is unfolding perfectly. Trust that. Assume that. And act as if it cannot fail, because it cannot. You were never meant to struggle, to chase, to fight against the tide. You were meant to align, to allow, to assume with confidence and joy. Life becomes effortless when you live from the end. When you claim the feeling of already having that which you desire, the universe bends to your conviction. You are divine imagination. That is your true identity. And your world is clay in your hands. Mold it with love. Mold it with certainty. Mold it with the deep, unwavering knowing that everything is always working out for you. And it shall be so. Let us go deeper still. You must understand, this is not merely a psychological trick or a motivational mantra to make you feel better in the moment. This is metaphysics. This is law. This is the foundation upon which reality stands. The very moment you dwell in the inner conviction that everything is working out for you, you set into motion forces unseen that reshape the entire fabric of your experience. And while the change may not always be immediate to your senses, it is immediate in the realm that precedes form. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you stop fighting with the world. You stop resisting what is. You surrender, not in weakness, but in faith. You cease arguing with appearances, and instead you plant your feet firmly in your assumption. And that assumption becomes your new foundation, your new center of gravity. From that center, you can move mountains. To the world, it may seem irrational. It may appear foolish. They will say you are unrealistic, that you are ignoring facts. But I say to you, the facts are only shadows of former beliefs. They are the residue of prior assumptions. If you would but persist, the facts will change. The outer must follow the inner. It has no choice. It is law. Take no thought for the morrow, said the Master. Why? Because he understood that worry, doubt, and fear are nothing but prayers for what you do not want. Instead, he pointed us toward the kingdom within. He taught us to live from the state of already having. When you pray, believe that you have received, and you shall receive. This is not metaphor. It is instruction. Precise divine instruction. Now imagine walking through your day with the inner knowing that life is unfolding in your favor. A delay at the airport, this is part of it working out. A rejection from someone you love, this too is working for me. An unexpected expense, even this is a setup for greater abundance. You start to live from the end of peace, not turmoil. From the end of success, not failure. The more you live in that state, the more your world becomes ordered by it. You draw to yourself people, events, and opportunities that match the tone of your inner world, not by trying to control them, but by embodying the version of yourself to whom these things already belong. You don't have to beg for anything. You don't have to hustle, chase, or strive. You have only to dwell in the state of knowing, the state of gratitude before the manifestation, the state of the wish fulfilled. You walk through life with an invisible crown on your head, not of arrogance but of assurance, because you know who you are. You know that your assumption is causative. You know that you are one with the source that forms the heavens and the earth. When you forget, because we all forget, come back to the state. Close your eyes and remember. Feel again what it feels like to be supported, loved, protected, favored. Feel it in your bones. Feel it until it feels real. For that is the test. Can you feel something so deeply that it becomes more real to you than the evidence of your senses? If you can do that, the world must catch up. It must reflect your inner knowing. The world is not solid. It is not fixed. It is fluid, malleable, shaped by consciousness. What you assume to be true hardens into fact. So why not assume the best? Why not assume that everything, yes, everything, is rigged in your favor? You must understand that this is not something that works only sometimes. It is working always. The question is not whether the law works, but what are you impressing upon it? Are you filling the mold of your mind with faith or with fear? Are you rehearsing limitation or celebrating fulfillment? If you want to change your life, you must change your assumption. And to change your assumption, you must first catch yourself in the act of doubting. Notice the story you are telling yourself throughout the day. Is it a story of what if it doesn't work out, or is it a story of everything is already working out? Let me remind you, you don't need permission. You don't need evidence. You don't need anyone to agree with you. You need only your imagination and your willingness to dwell in the end. The end is what gives life to the means. The end is the cause. Live there and you will watch the whole world rearrange itself around your conviction. You are not here to try. You are here to be. You are not here to hope. You are here to know. And when you know deeply that everything is working out for you, you become immovable. You become unshakable. Storms may come, winds may howl, but you remain centered. You remain still, because your peace does not come from circumstance. It comes from assumption. It comes from the state within. That is true mastery. Not the ability to control events, but the ability to maintain your state regardless of them. The outer world becomes a theater in which your inner world plays itself out. You are the writer. You are the director. You are the actor. And the script is whatever you assume it to be. Now let this not be merely theory for you. Test it. Try it. Begin now. Pick one situation in your life that appears uncertain. Close your eyes and see the outcome you desire. Feel what it feels like to know it is done. To know that it is already yours. Carry that feeling with you. Do not drop it. Let nothing persuade you otherwise. And then observe. Watch how life moves. Watch how things align. Watch how miracles unfold, not because you forced them, but because you assumed them. You are never waiting on the world to change. You are only ever waiting on yourself to assume the change is already complete. When that inner shift happens, everything changes. People begin to treat you differently. Circumstances turn in your favor. Doors open. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. All of it begins with one simple truth: everything is always working out for you. Let that be your mantra. Let that be your prayer. Let that be your dominant thought. Whisper it when you wake. Declare it when you walk. Sing it in silence. And in time, you will see that it was never the world that needed to change. It was only ever your assumption. You do not need to earn your good. You need only to accept it. And when you accept it as already true, life must match your acceptance. This is not hope. It is law. This is not magic. It is principle. Assume it is done. Feel it is done. Live as though it is done. And it is done. Now let us bring our attention to the simplicity of this practice. Many make the mistake of complicating the law. They seek advanced techniques, rituals, affirmations, and elaborate routines. But I tell you, it is the simplest act of all that yields the most profound results. The act of assuming, of entering the state, mentally and emotionally, and remaining there. You do not need a candle. You do not need the perfect moon phase. You do not need to repeat something 100 times. You need only to know it is done. What is assumption, if not a silent agreement with God? When you say in your heart, "This too shall work in my favor," you are aligning yourself with the divine intelligence that orchestrates all things. You are stepping into the current of life rather than fighting it. You are surrendering to the truth that all things are unfolding exactly as they must, to bring you to the manifestation of your desire. You may not always understand the path. You may not always see why certain detours appear. But I assure you, when you persist in the inner state, those detours become miracles in disguise. They become the invisible hand of grace, moving people, circumstances, and events with precision. But you must remain faithful, not to what you see, but to what you know within. There will be moments when everything around you seems contrary. The outer world will tempt you to abandon your assumption. The bank account may empty. The person may walk away. The opportunity may vanish. But these are merely tests, not from some punishing universe, but from your own deeper self. It is your inner reality, asking, will you remain loyal to the state, or will you react to the shadows? If you remain loyal, if you walk in the knowing that all things are working for your highest good, you will witness the rearrangement. You will look back in awe and say, what I once called a setback was my greatest setup. What I once called a problem was the portal to my answered prayer. This is how the law works. It bends to belief. It conforms to conviction. And conviction is born not of repetition, but of identification. You must identify as the one for whom everything always works out. Not sometimes. Not when you're lucky. Not when the stars align. Always, even now. As you hear these words, you are being invited into that state. You are being called to remember who you are. Not a victim of life, but the cause of it. Not a wanderer in chaos, but a creator in command. You were never meant to struggle. You were never meant to strive. You were meant to assume, to feel, and to receive. How do you know when you are in the state? You feel relief. You feel joy without reason. You smile at the silence. You are no longer grasping, chasing, needing. You are still. You are certain. You are aware that what you seek is already yours in the unseen, and therefore must come to pass. Do not concern yourself with when. Time is the servant of assumption. It bends and folds around your belief. What takes others years may come to you in days. What others must labor for, you will attract with ease. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. You are aligning with the greater truth that your inner world is primary, and the outer must echo it. You need not convince others. You need not argue with logic. Simply remain faithful. Carry your inner conviction quietly, like a secret treasure, and let the fruits of your faith speak for themselves. For when you live in the state of everything is always working out for me, your life becomes a testimony, a walking miracle, a living prayer answered. Others will ask, how did you do it? And you will say, I assumed, I believed, I felt, I walked as though it were already true, and the world had no choice but to reflect it. Let this be your daily practice, not effort but assumption, not hustle but inner rest. Wake in the morning and step into the feeling. Walk through your day and return to the feeling. Rest at night in the peace of the fulfilled desire. Do not waver. Do not look back. Press forward in faith. When the winds of doubt blow, you anchor yourself in the state. When fear whispers its lies, you reply with your truth. Even this is working out for me. You speak it until it becomes your dominant vibration. And once it does, the world around you cannot help but align. You are not asking the universe to bless you. You are recognizing that it already has. You are not trying to create. You are revealing what is already true in the realm of spirit. You are simply moving from knowing to knowing, from fulfillment to fulfillment, without resistance. It is here, in this sacred inner posture, that miracles become ordinary. What once felt like fantasy becomes your new normal. You begin to expect the best, not because you are naive, but because you are awake to the truth of who you are. You are God in motion, imagination clothed in form, and when you assume, you create. So do not wait for the evidence to begin believing. Let your belief be the evidence. Let your assumption be the cause. Let your inner world dictate the terms. Everything you see, touch, and experience is but the echo of a prior state. If you would change the echo, change the state. Now pause and breathe. Feel the truth of these words, not in your mind but in your spirit. Let it settle. Let it take root. Begin to walk with the poise of the fulfilled. Begin to speak from the place of completion. Begin to look upon the world with eyes that see beyond appearances. For the unseen is more real than the seen, and what is real in imagination shall become real in form. I say to you again, act as if everything always works out for you, because it does, because it must, because you have declared it so, and your declaration is the seed from which reality grows. And so, beloved, let this be your final awakening. You are not at the mercy of fate, chance, or circumstance. You are the operant power. Life is not happening to you. It is happening through you, as you, for you. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you are not pretending. You are proclaiming. You are standing in the authority of one who knows their imagination is God, and their assumption is law. Let the world call it delusion. Let the facts scream otherwise. You remain unmoved, for you have seen the truth. You have felt the power. You have touched the divine in the silence of your own consciousness, and you know now, with certainty, that nothing is too great, too far, or too impossible. You need only assume, and remain faithful. Walk forward now, not as one who hopes, but as one who knows. Wear the feeling of the wish fulfilled, like a second skin. Let it shape your tone, your steps, your silence. And as you do, you will watch in quiet wonder, as life bows to your belief, and the unseen becomes seen. This is your secret. This is your power. Act as if everything always works out for you, and it will. It always has. It always will, because you have finally remembered who you are.
In the beginning was the unconditioned awareness of being. This awareness, this I am, is God. Before you said, I am this or I am that, you simply were. This pure awareness is your foundation, your true self. It is the only reality. Everything else, all conditions, all states, all manifestations spring from this one source. When I speak of effortless manifestation, I am not speaking of some magical process whereby your desires materialize without any action on your part. No, I am speaking of understanding the law by which all things come into being. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The word is your consciousness, your awareness, your I am. You see, most of us have been taught to believe that our desires come to us from the outside world, that we must manipulate conditions, struggle, and strive to attain what we wish to have, to be, or to do. But I tell you that this is backward thinking. Your desires do not come to you, they come from you. They are already within you, seeking expression. When you say, I want this or I need that, you are affirming the absence of it. You are stating that it exists somewhere outside of you and that you must go and get it. But I say to you, the kingdom of heaven is within you. All that you desire already exists within your consciousness. Your work is not to bring it into being, but to bring it into expression. How do you do this? By assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, by entering into the state of consciousness where your desire is already. This is not pretense or make-believe. This is understanding the true nature of reality. Let me share a simple truth that once realized will transform your life. Imagination creates reality. Your consciousness is the one and only reality. The world that appears so solid, so real to your senses, is merely a shadow, an outer picture of your inner assumptions. When I speak of imagination, I am not referring to fantasy or daydreaming. I am speaking of the very substance of life itself. The eternal body of man is the imagination, and that is God himself. Your imagination is not something you have, it is what you are. It is the very being of God within you. You see, everything in your world is yourself pushed out. Every person, every circumstance, every condition reflects back to you, your own consciousness. When you change your consciousness, when you change the concept you hold of yourself, your world changes to reflect this new concept. The key to effortless manifestation lies in understanding that what you are conscious of being, you are. If you want wealth, you must be conscious of being wealthy. If you want love, you must be conscious of being loved. If you want success, you must be conscious of being successful. This is the law, and it is immutable. But many will say, how can I be conscious of being that which I am not? And I say to you, consciousness is the only reality. If you can assume a state, any state, and dwell in it, that state will become your reality. This is the mystic marriage, the fusion of feeling and consciousness that gives birth to a new expression of life. Consider the story of the man who desired to travel but had no money. Night after night, he would assume the feeling of traveling. He would imagine the sights, the sounds, the feeling of being in different places. He would fall asleep in this consciousness. Within a month, an unexpected opportunity arose that enabled him to travel exactly as he had imagined. Did his imaginal act create the opportunity? Yes, but not in the way you might think. His imaginal act revealed the opportunity that was always there, waiting to be expressed. His change in consciousness allowed him to align with the reality of his desire. This is what I mean by effortless manifestation. It is not about making things happen. It is about allowing them to happen. It is about aligning your consciousness with the reality of your desire so that its expression becomes natural, inevitable. Now let us delve deeper into this mystery. Your consciousness, your I am, is God. It is the only creative power there is. Whatever you attach to your I am, you create. When you say, I am poor, I am sick, I am unlucky, you are creating those conditions. When you say, I am wealthy, I am healthy, I am blessed, you are equating those conditions. The creative power does not judge or question. It simply creates according to your assumption. This is why it is written, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Your thoughts, your feelings, your assumptions shape your reality. But remember, it is not the thought or the idea alone that creates. It is the feeling, the conviction, the consciousness of being that creates. This is why mental tricks and affirmations often fail. They remain on the surface in the intellect without penetrating into the depths of consciousness where creation takes place. To truly manifest your desires effortlessly, you must go beyond mere thinking into feeling into being. You must so completely identify with the state you desire that you feel yourself to be in it now. This feeling, this consciousness of being, is the secret to effortless manifestation. Let me illustrate this with a simple experiment. Close your eyes and imagine that you are holding an apple. See its color, feel its weight in your hand. Smell its freshness. Hear the sound it makes as you bite into it. Taste its sweetness. If you have done this with feeling, with conviction, you have created an apple in your consciousness. The outer manifestation of this apple will follow in accordance with the intensity and persistence of your feeling. Now apply this same principle to anything you desire. If it is a new home, feel yourself living in it. Walk through its rooms, touch its walls, enjoy its comfort. If it is a loving relationship, feel the joy of being with your beloved, the warmth of their embrace, the happiness of shared moments. If it is health, feel the vitality, the strength, the well-being flowing through your body. As you dwell in these feelings, as you live from these states of consciousness, you are creating the conditions for their outer expression. You are aligning yourself with the reality of your desire, and in doing so, you are allowing it to manifest effortlessly. But what of time? What of the interval between your assumption and its manifestation? This is where faith enters. Faith is not hoping or wishing, it is knowing. It is the evidence of things not seen, the substance of things hoped for. Faith is living now in the feeling of your wish fulfilled regardless of appearances. Time is a concept of our mortal minds. In the realm of spirit of consciousness, all is now. Your desire is not to be created. It already exists in the eternal now. Your assumption merely opens the door for its expression in your world of form. Some desires manifest instantly, others take longer. The time element depends on the naturalness of your assumption. If your desire seems natural to you, if it aligns with your deep beliefs about yourself and the world, it will manifest quickly. If it seems unnatural, if there is doubt or disbelief, the manifestation will be delayed until the assumption becomes natural. This is why it is essential to persist in your assumption until it becomes a habit of mind, a natural part of your consciousness. As Emerson said, a man is what he thinks about all day long. By consistently assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you transform your consciousness, and in doing so, you transform your world. Now, there may be some who hear these words and think, this is too simple. There must be more to it than this. And to them, I say, yes, it is simple. The truth always is. It is our human tendency to complicate, to add conditions and qualifications that makes manifestation seem difficult and elusive. The key to effortless manifestation is not found in complex rituals or secret formulas. It is found in the simple understanding that consciousness is the only reality and that what you are conscious of being, you are. This understanding liberates you from the struggle, the striving, the endless doing that characterizes most human lives. Instead of asking, how can I get this? Ask, who would I be if I already had it? Instead of focusing on the process, focus on the end, the fulfilled desire. Live from that end, and the means will take care of themselves. Remember, the world is yourself pushed out. Everything you experience reflects your own consciousness back to you. If you want to change your world, change your consciousness. If you want to experience love, be loving. If you want to experience wealth, be generous. If you want to experience health, be vital. This is not cause and effect as we usually understand it. It is not that being loving causes love to come to you, or that being generous causes wealth to flow to you. Rather, being loving is the state of consciousness from which acts of love naturally flow. And being generous is the state of consciousness from which abundance naturally expresses itself. The key to effortless manifestation lies in being, not in doing. It lies in consciousness, not in action. Actions will follow naturally from your state of consciousness, but they will be inspired actions, effortless actions, actions that flow from your being, rather than actions designed to get you something you think you lack. Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin. Yet Solomon, in all his glory, was not arrayed like one of these. The lily does not strive to be a lily. It simply is a lily, and its nature unfolds effortlessly. So it is with you. You need not strive to be what you desire to be. Simply assume that you are it, and allow your nature to unfold accordingly. This is the law of assumption, the key to effortless manifestation. Now, some may ask, what of others? What of the world? Can I simply ignore the facts of my life and the lives of those around me? And to them, I say what you call facts are merely reflections of consciousness. They have no independent reality. They are shadows, not substance. To ignore facts is not to deny their existence at the level of shadow. It is to recognize that they have no power to create or sustain themselves. Their power comes from consciousness, from attention. What you attend to, you give life to. What you withdraw attention from withers and dies. If the facts of your life do not please you, do not fight them, resist them, or try to change them. Simply withdraw your attention from them and place it on what you desire to experience. Assume the consciousness of your wish fulfilled and watch as the facts of your life rearrange themselves to match your new consciousness. This is not denial, it is understanding the true nature of reality. It is recognizing that consciousness is cause, and what we call reality is effect. The outer world is a mirror reflecting the states we occupy in consciousness. Think of it this way: if you stand before a mirror frowning, the mirror reflects a frown. If you stand before it smiling, it reflects a smile. The mirror has no power to determine your expression, it merely reflects it. So it is with the world. It has no power to determine your state of being, it merely reflects it. The key to effortless manifestation then is to be before you can do, and to do before you can have. Most people have this backward. They believe that if they have a certain thing, they can do what they want to do, and then they will be what they want to be. But the law works in the opposite direction: be, do, have. First, assume the consciousness of being what you desire to be. From this state of being, actions will naturally follow. Not actions designed to get you something, but actions that express who you now are. And from these actions, the having will naturally follow. This is the divine order, the path of effortless manifestation. Let me share with you another principle that is vital to understanding effortless manifestation, the law of identical harvest. This law states that you always reap what you sow. Not something similar, not something in the same category, but the exact same thing. If you sow corn, you reap corn. If you sow wheat, you reap wheat. So it is with consciousness. If you sow the consciousness of lack, you reap experiences of lack. If you sow the consciousness of abundance, you reap experiences of abundance. This is why it is so important to guard the door of your mind, to be vigilant about what you allow to take root in your consciousness. For whatever takes root will grow and bear fruit after its kind. The thoughts you think, the feelings you entertain, the states you occupy in consciousness are seeds that will germinate and grow into the conditions and circumstances of your life. This is the law, and it is impersonal. It works for everyone, all the time, without exception. But here is the wonderful thing: you are free to choose what seeds you will plant. You are free to choose the state of consciousness you will occupy. This freedom is your divine inheritance, your birthright as a son or daughter of God. You may say, but I cannot help what I think and feel. My thoughts and feelings come to me unbidden. And I say to you, that is the voice of the sleeper, the one who has not yet awakened to their divine power. You can choose your thoughts. You can direct your feelings. You can select the state of consciousness you will occupy. It may take practice, it may take discipline, but it is within your power. And as you exercise this power, it grows stronger. As you become more conscious of your consciousness, you become more able to direct it. The key to effortless manifestation lies in this conscious direction of your consciousness. It lies in deliberately assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled and dwelling in that feeling until it becomes your dominant state. Now let us address another aspect of effortless manifestation: detachment. Many teach that after you have set your intention, most detach from the outcome, let it go and trust that it will manifest. And there is truth in this teaching, but it is often misunderstood. Detachment does not mean indifference or lack of interest. It does not mean pretending that you don't care whether your desire manifests or not. Rather, detachment means freedom from the anxiety of waiting, from the fear of not having, from the doubt about your manifestation. True detachment comes when you are so convinced of the reality of your desire in consciousness that you no longer feel the need to look for it in the outer world. You know it is yours, and that knowing brings a peace, a certainty that needs no outward confirmation. This state of consciousness, this feeling of the wish fulfilled, is not something you create once and then abandon. It is something you dwell in, something you live from day after day, moment by moment, until it becomes so natural, so much a part of you, that you can no longer imagine being any other way. As this state becomes natural to you, as it becomes your habitual way of being, the outer manifestation follows naturally, effortlessly. It is not something you make happen. It is something you allow to happen by aligning your consciousness with the reality of your desire. Let me share a principle that may help clarify this process, the law of reversibility. This law states that just as our thoughts and feelings create our reality, so our actions and environments can influence our thoughts and feelings. If you find it difficult to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled through pure imagination, you can use physical actions, environments, to help induce that feeling. If you want to feel successful, dress as a successful person would dress, walk as they would walk, speak as they would speak. If you want to feel abundant, surround yourself with symbols of abundance, act generously, express gratitude for what you have. These physical actions and environments send messages to your subconscious mind, helping it to accept your new self-concept. They bridge the gap between your current state and the state you desire to occupy. But remember, the outer actions are not the cause of your manifestation. They are aids to assuming the consciousness that they cause. The key is always consciousness, always the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Now, there is another aspect of effortless manifestation that is often overlooked, the role of others in your manifestation process. Many believe that their desires involve other people who have free will, and therefore they cannot control the outcome. But this belief stems from a misunderstanding of the nature of reality. There are no others. There is only one consciousness, one I am, expressing itself through seemingly separate beings. What you experience as others are aspects of yourself pushed out, reflections of your own consciousness. This does not mean that others are not real, or that they do not have their own experiences. It means that your experience of them is determined by your consciousness. You cannot experience in another what you do not first find in yourself. If you want to experience love from another, you must first find that love within yourself. If you want to experience respect, appreciation, or any other quality from others, you must first embody that quality in your own consciousness. This is why it is futile to try to change others. You cannot change what you see in others. You can only change what you see in yourself. But when you change yourself, your experience of others changes automatically. The key to effortless manifestation in relationships, then, is to assume the feeling of already having the relationship you desire. Feel the love, the respect, the appreciation flowing between you and the other person. Dwell in this feeling until it becomes your reality, and watch as the outer person conforms to your inner assumption. This is not manipulation, it is understanding the law by which all relationships are formed and sustained. It is recognizing that what you experience in another is a reflection of your own consciousness, and by changing your consciousness, you change your experience. There is another principle that is essential to understanding effortless manifestation, the law of attention. What you give your attention to grows in your experience. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. And what you energize expands. If you focus on problems, they multiply. If you focus on solutions, they materialize. If you dwell on lack, it increases. If you dwell on abundance, it flourishes. Your attention is the directing force of your creative power. This is why it's so important to be mindful of where you place your attention. If you want to manifest your desires effortlessly, place your attention on the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Many people sabotage their manifestations by dividing their attention. They spend a few minutes visualizing their desire, then hours worrying about its absence. They affirm abundance in the morning, then complain about bills all day. This divided attention creates conflicting manifestations. The key to effortless manifestation lies in consistent, focused attention on the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It lies in training your mind to dwell on what you want, rather than on what you don't want, on what you love rather than on what you fear. This brings us to another vital aspect of effortless manifestation, gratitude. Gratitude is not just a pleasant emotion, It is a powerful creative force. When you express gratitude for something, you are affirming its presence in your life. You are focusing your attention on having, not on wanting, and what you focus on expands. Expressing gratitude for what you desire before it is manifest in the outer world is one of the most powerful practices you can cultivate. It signals to your subconscious mind that your desire is already fulfilled, that you already have what you seek. This attitude of gratitude shifts your energy from lack to abundance, from wanting to having. It aligns your consciousness with the reality of your desire, making its manifestation natural and effortless. I have found in my own experience that when I express heartfelt gratitude for my desires, as if they are already fulfilled, they manifest more quickly and more beautifully than when I approach them from a state of anxious wanting. Gratitude is the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It is the emotional signature of having, of being complete. When you feel genuine gratitude for your desire, as if it is already yours, you are in the perfect state for effortless manifestation. Now let us address a common obstacle to effortless manifestation: resistance. Resistance takes many forms: doubt, fear, disbelief, skepticism, conflicting desires, limiting beliefs. All of these create friction in the manifestation process, making it seem difficult and strenuous rather than effortless and natural. The key to overcoming resistance lies in surrender, in letting go of the how and trusting in the what. It lies in releasing the need to control the process and allowing your desire to manifest in its own perfect way and time. Many of us have been conditioned to believe that we must make things happen, that we must struggle and strive to achieve our goals. But this belief itself creates resistance. It stems from a misunderstanding of the nature of reality and our role in creation. You are not the doer, you are the observer. Your role is not to make your desires manifest, but to assume the consciousness from which they naturally flow. Your work is not in the outer world of effects, but in the inner world of cause. When you truly understand this, when you shift your focus from doing to being, from effort to allowing, you remove the resistance that blocks effortless manifestation. You align yourself with the creative flow of the universe, and your desires manifest naturally, just as a flower blooms when the conditions are right. This brings us to another principle that is vital to understanding effortless manifestation: the law of least effort. This law, beautifully articulated in the Vedic tradition, states that nature's intelligence functions with effortless ease, with carefreeness, harmony, and love. When we struggle, when we force, when we try to control outcomes, we are working against this natural intelligence. We are creating resistance that impedes the flow of manifestation. The key to effortless manifestation lies in aligning with this natural intelligence, in allowing it to work through us rather than trying to work against it. It lies in recognizing that the universe is already conspiring in our favor, already working to bring our desires to fruition. Our role is not to make it happen, but to allow it to happen. Our work is not in the outer world of action, but in the inner world of consciousness. When we get the inner right, the outer falls naturally into place. This is not to say that action is unnecessary. Action is an integral part of the manifestation process. But when it flows from the correct inner state, it is inspired action, effortless action, action that feels more like being carried along by a current than swimming upstream. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, when you live from the end, the actions that will bring about that end arise naturally. You find yourself doing the right things at the right times, meeting the right people, having the right opportunities, not through forced effort, but through natural inclination. This is the difference between action that creates and action that expresses. Most people engage in action to create what they desire, but true creation takes place in consciousness. Action merely expresses what has already been created within. The key to effortless manifestation lies in creating first in consciousness, then allowing the outer action to express that inner creation. When you follow this order, manifestation becomes effortless because you are working with the law, not against it. Now let us address another common obstacle to effortless manifestation: impatience. Many of us want instant results. We want our desires to manifest the moment we conceive them. And when they don't, we become anxious, doubtful, and frustrated. But manifestation has its own timing. its own rhythm. It unfolds according to the readiness of your consciousness, the naturalness of your assumption, the alignment of all the elements necessary for its expression. Some desires manifest instantly, others take longer. The time element depends not on the size or complexity of the desire, but on the state of your consciousness in relation to it. If your desire feels natural to you, if there is no inner conflict or resistance, it will manifest quickly. If it feels unnatural, if there is doubt or disbelief, the manifestation will take longer. The key to dealing with this time factor lies in living in the end, in so completely immersing yourself in the feeling of your wish fulfilled that you lose all sense of waiting or wanting. When you truly live from the state of having, the time gap between your assumption and its manifestation ceases to matter. This is the secret of patience in manifestation, not enduring the waiting period, but transcending it by living so completely in the end that there is no waiting. When you are so convinced of the reality of your desiring consciousness that you no longer look for it in the outer world, it will appear, often in the most unexpected and delightful ways.